Disneyland on fire. That's right, guys. You heard it. The Little Mermaid Float of the Paint the Night Parade on Wednesday night, the 10th, September 10th, it caught on fire, and Disneyland had to put it out. They had to put out the fire. It stopped the parade, and it caused a whole sort of mess. They had a whole logistical issue that they needed to solve. But don't take my word for it. Let me show you. Let me show you exactly what happened on this crazy thing. I was there, by the way. I have some footage there, and I will show you some of the footage that I've taken. But this is from Emma Lafleur. I apologize if I get your name wrong. But Emma has gotten a pretty good shot of, see how it's smoking. The Little Mermaid Float is smoking right now. And I believe that is either the smoke from the fire or smoke from the fire extinguishers that they are using to put out the fire, or at least to suppress it, because that's pretty crazy with all that smoke going on here. But Emma has a pretty good shot of that as that smoke just kind of appears out. That smoke is not normal. That smoke does not normally appear. But let me go ahead and take you down the timeline. Okay, so normally the Paint the Night Parade. The Paint the Night Parade is a very straightforward parade that starts, this is on the first showing, starts at Small World, right? This is the map of Disneyland. Starts over here at Small World from the parade ride. It even says parade route. Comes around down here, passes Small World, goes through Fantasyland, around, this is the hub. This is what we call the hub. On the east side of the hub, down Main Street, and then goes all the way back around to the other side of the parade route. So it's a pretty straightforward parade route that goes down sort of the center of the park. But there was a hitch. This is footage from our friend Katie, Main Street Cowgirl, as she goes through the park. Here, let me turn off my camera so you can see this. Okay. So this is from Katie. She's watching the parade. That's the Little Mermaid Float. You see Ariel right there. She's right by Alice in Wonderland, right? This is the Alice in Wonderland ride that's sort of blocking the view here. But you could see directly that there's the Little Mermaid Float. Okay. Hello, everyone, by the way. Good to see you. Welcome in. And then watch the float. Watch it right now. Just keep an eye on that. And you're going to see exactly what happens. Just there it goes. That's the problem. See, it stops. Completely stops. That float just lost power. Right? It is there's no electricity going through that float. And so with the float not having any power, right? It doesn't move. It is stopped. The entire parade route stops. Here, let me see if I can back it up just a little bit to that one section. Right? And then, it's and that's it, right? If there's no power, the float doesn't move, and that stops everything. Now you might say, Kevin, what about the front of the float? Here, just watch this part. Watch this part right again. I think they tried to restart it. I think there's some flickering that we can see from this angle where they try to restart it. Right? Let's just see here. Right? There's some movement. No, that's just reflection from something else. So essentially, the parade route just stops. Nobody can move forward behind the float because the float itself, the Little Mermaid Float, is literally blocking the parade route, right? So the squids, the Finding Nemo, the princesses behind there, everything is blocked from moving forward. But you might also say, like, what about the front? Does the front move? Because the front's not blocked. And the answer is yes, because generally speaking, the Disney is trying to provide entertainment. Is trying to provide entertainment for everyone. And when the parade route stops, you could continue with the front part of the parade, but then you're going to have this big gap, between when they restart the parade and by moving the float and the front of the parade. And that's not good entertainment, right? That's bad entertainment. So this is what happens. This is my footage. This is this is an example of what happens at the front of the parade. So this is the front. This is the literal front of the parade, right? These are the dancers. and right, and they're dancing. They're moving along. They're trying to provide a show. And look at that cast member. See that cast member? He's holding up the fist. He's saying, hey, you gotta stop moving forward. Stop moving forward. Because something is going on behind you, and if you get too far forward, we can't provide entertainment. So everyone's moving backwards now. I believe the cast members are guiding all of these dancers backwards towards Tinkerbell. Right, Tinkerbell is the first float of the parade, so the dancers are going to start moving a little bit back, and just so that they can kind of condense the area a bit more. I think partially this is to make sure that the parade grouping is stick together, and also because that's the pathway. That's the pathway right there. So anyone that's trying to leave the park right now can't leave if they are coming in from that center left side, east side, because the parade route is blocking that exit. But if they move everyone back farther enough, you could start opening up the gate and then letting people through. I'll just show, right there where my camera is, right? That's where they need to open up the entrance so they can let people through. And I think they're gonna let people through and right now. As now that they finally have the cast members, the dancers back towards the front of the parade. See now everyone can leave, right? Otherwise they're stuck. But this is what happens when the parade route stops. Everyone has to remain in place, right? Everyone has to remain in place. They have to do their dances. They have to do their routines. Although I suspect that at this point in time they're doing freestyle, because I think I remember that when the cast members that are directing the parade, not the ones that are dancing, but the ones that are kind of walking alongside, they will tell the cast members, they'll give certain hand signals like this, where they're saying like, hey, we need you to stop, we need to reverse, you need to not do your routine, because you're going to be tired if you keep dancing for as long as we need to wait. So that's the trick there. That's the challenge that we're facing. So basically everyone kind of remains in place when the float breaks down. Now what happened next? What happened to the Little Mermaid float after it lost power? That's not when it caught fire. By the way, that's not when it caught fire. It caught fire afterwards. Okay? So at this point, the float is right about here, right by the Alice in Wonderland. This is the Alice in Wonderland area. It broke down right about here, right here, between Matterhorn and Alice in Wonderland. Okay? They got... From what I hear from according to Walt Disney World News Today, or WDW News Today, is that they escorted the cast members off the float, which is Ariel. So Ariel was removed from the float, and they brought a truck, and one of those tow trucks, to pull the float along, right? Because the float has no power, so it needs a truck to pull it. Okay. And because once they're able to pull the float along, that's when the parade route was able to kind of continue. So this is so right here. So I was actually initially waiting here at Main Street Station, and the parade route is basically right there. It's stuck. They're dancing in position right there for a very long time. Right. I'll move over here, and you can kind of see very poorly that they're just kind of stuck dancing in that one section, right? And that was when the parade was stuck first, when the float lost power. The float managed to, once it got towed, it actually managed to proceed just a little bit further to the hub, where it stopped right about here, right at the Main Street hub, a little bit next to Plaza Inn, and then it caught fire. That's when it started to smoke and catch fire. That's when you get this video. Where it's already has no power, and now it's catching fire, and the cast members come in and they use their fire extinguishers, and this is the smoke. And notice how these cast members are directing people away from the area. They're saying, please move away from this area. Please stay away from this float because it's dangerous at this point, right? If the float is on fire, right, then that could be a danger to guests, other people around there. And the cast members that are trained to deal with this, need that space as well, and they don't want anyone else to get hurt. So Disney's very good about this. Disney is very good about ensuring safety for their guests, right? And they don't want anyone to get hurt, right? One, that's just that no one wants to get anyone hurt. Two, lawsuits, right? Nobody wants a lawsuit. So they're trying to get the guests out of this area as soon as the float catches fire, and that's pretty important. But that's the reason why it stopped. That's the reason why we have this, not that group, but right here where these poor cast members are dancing in place for a very, very long period of time, right? Back, and you're just kind of stuck there. Now, at some point, Disney realizes that, hey, we can't move this float, right away. We need to inspect it because we already tried moving it once and it caught on fire. So if we move it again, it could potentially catch on fire a second time. By the way, I want to show you this is what the float actually looks like when it's not on fire and it's working, right? That's the working version of the float with Ariel, right? That's the one where this is from previous footage from I think it was like maybe a week ago. And everything's working, lights are on, everyone's happy. That's what it's supposed to look like. What Disney has decided to do is that they need to now have this issue. They have this challenge where they need to get the parade all the way, through the parade route and then off to the side here, while ensuring that the guests are safe, that the cast members who are part of the parade route are safe, and that they actually are able to remove these gigantic floats. Remember, these floats are huge through Disneyland, right? They could, there's a couple options, right? They could move the floats backwards, right? The ones that are behind the Little Mermaid, they can move it back into the small world entrance area. I don't know if the floats move that way, but I bet Disney has the ability to make them do so carefully, because just in case this happens, right? And the ones that are stuck in the front of the Little Mermaid float can continue on the normal route. And that's what they do right here. That's what I do. I'm going to go ahead and speed this up. Going to go to 2x speed. Is that they're going to go ahead and they're going to push the floats, because all the floats in front are working, and they're actually going to go quickly. I know that I put this at 2x speed, but when we were there at Disneyland tonight, this was very quick. The way they started moving these floats, I wouldn't say this was like excessively fast, but it was faster than average. I felt like this was not the normal speed that they do the parade, and you can kind of tell. I think I noticed it in particular with these characters behind there, Genie, with Tigger, and with the Lumiere, because they're moving them very quickly, and that's quite interesting. It's right, they're trying to get all these floats out of the way, right? And that's fascinating. There's also a little bit of a gap, because Lightning McQueen, right? Monsters Inc. is almost out, all the way out and exited, and then here comes Lightning McQueen, and I don't think Lightning McQueen can move very quickly. Ironically, so that's a challenge here. By the way, welcome in everyone. Good to see you. Hello. I'm glad that you're here for this late night video stream, post video stream. So what happens? What's left of this parade now that there's you can't have the mermaid float? Well, you got the Cars dancers. They're very cool. Is this breakdancing? I don't know the terminology. But I think it's breakdance. You got Mac, and then after Mac, that's when the mermaid section is, right? The car section comes, and then there's the mermaid section, the Little Mermaid section, and there's dancers in front of the Little Mermaid. So We're gonna see that in a second, and it's the dancers, but no Little Mermaid, no Little Mermaid here. We'll just go move us up there, right? Those are the dancers, and there's has that Little Mermaid section, and then that's it. That's it. Right? They leave and that's it. And that's when things started seeing a little I mean it was already pretty weird, but it's pretty weird that you see them without the Little Mermaid, and then they start letting everyone kind of get into the road, right? They start allowing people to go everywhere. You start seeing people, they start seeing these ropes disappear as the cast members are starting to let people kind of move in and out. And that's because they've cleared the parade route up until the hub. Up into the hub. And so I'm going to show you we walked over to the hub to see what was kind of going on, and I'll show you what we saw there. Right over here. Right over here. So this is the Little Mermaid Float. This is a Little Mermaid Float, right? This is what it's supposed to look like. You know, and this, I closed that tab. This is what it's supposed to look like. Right? And then this is what it looks like, you know, when it's not, when the power is out. And this is after the fire, right? This is after fire. This is when the fire happened. And you can kind of see, if I turn off my camera, that there is still floats and actors behind there, cast members behind there, that is stuck behind this section because this float's blocking the way. Now, what they're going to do right now, and you can see this, is they're moving some of the cast members, some of the dancing cast members past the float, and they're going to have them exit. They're not going all the way down the parade route because, like I said, they already opened up that parade route to the guests. They're going to have these cast members exit at the cast member entrance by the first aid station, right? So that's why they're marching right there. They're not dancing. They're just quickly moving towards the entrance at the first aid station. Here, let me go ahead and show you where that is. All right. So this is the first aid station. And by the way, if you ever need the first aid station, it's right back here. It's right back here on the right side. The cast members have just walked past. They've come down to the left, right? Actually, sorry, down here, right here. This is the first aid station. Come down to the left, and they're entering the cast member area right here, right? That's what they're doing. And this is, by the way, where they keep the floats. From the first parade to the second parade, they have the floats kind of line up around here in a certain order. And so it makes sense that the cast members are kind of entering where these floats are. So this is where the other floats that have already exited will be, right? Those are the Cars float, Lightning McQueen. They have Mac. They have the Peter Pan float. They have the Tinkerbell float, right? All of those the Monsters Inc. float are already here in this area. Okay, so that's it. Yeah, the little. I don't think that there's going to be a Little Mermaid float in the future parades for over the next few days because of the fire. Okay, so that's quite interesting, and that's not the only. Those aren't the only cast members they do that to. They also bring in other cast members. They bring in these cast members. Okay, that's another good shot of the float there, right? That's the Little Mermaid float, and it's broken. But they also bring in these cast members, right? These are the ones that do the spinners, and these are closer to around where Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, and Donald are. So all these other cast members that are dancing that are normally between the floats, they are being escorted off. And I think they're doing this. I think they're doing this intentionally. One, so that we could they could clear as much of the parade out as possible, and two, maybe make it so that it makes it easier to move the floats, because when you get rid of the cast members dancing between the floats, you can move the floats much closer together. Okay, and so that's what they're doing, right? They're trying to remove as much of the challenges, the difficult parts. They're trying to remove as much of the parts as possible so they can make things simpler, right? They solve the problem by taking things one step at a time. And it's not like Disney's making this up on the fly. Disney is prepared. Disney is prepared with these scenarios in mind, right? If there's a breakdown, they try to tow it. If there's a fire, there's a certain procedure that they're following, right? This is a very interesting. This is very interesting. You will never see this ever again. I've never seen this before in my life, but this is quite weird. But it because the float broke down and had the fire right here in this hub section. Notice how like it's a giant circle road, right? This is a giant circle road where people could go everywhere. This gives the rest of the parade the opportunity to actually just go around it. Like you wouldn't be able to do this in any other section, maybe of the parade route, because this would just be blocking it entirely, right? You'd have to move backwards. You might be able to do it right here in Main Street, right? Because that's another big kind of circle area. But normally the parade route goes down on the east side. It never goes down on the west side. Cast members probably had to stop guests from moving in that area and clear that space just so that they can have these parades move on the west side. And I'll show you, right, as this comes in, right, the Toy Story float comes in on the west side, and they're moving it very slowly. I have this at 2x speed right now. Right, you're watching right now is at 2x speed, and it's moving very slowly. And they're going to be very careful about it turning to the right here because it never usually turns right at that section, right? It's not quite programmed to do so. So they got cast members that are just checking, that are making sure that it can properly do it. Big kudos to Woody and Buzz and the other characters who are on the floats. They remain on the floats. They're saying hello to everyone, and they're engaging with the audience, right? But it's very strange to see all of these floats come down that left side right there, right? There's the princesses, right? Belle's stuck in that dress. She can't get out of that dress until after the float returns back into the cast member area. But yeah, they're going to be very careful about all this turning. Notice how notice how it's slowing down here. Yeah, just to make sure that it gets that turn. It gets that turn properly. As it moves back down on the main street. So that's quite interesting, right? So there's Belle. There's Belle, and then we're going to see Rapunzel and Cinderella. The view, this was the best kind of view of that section that I had, so I do apologize that it's not as quite as clear. But it's interesting that we could see them go around that circle in quite in that way, because that is unusual. You never see that. Right? They're going to do the exact same thing for Elsa and Anna. Now, the reason why they're doing this is to get the floats through as fast as possible and clear the parade route because one, the projections, the screen projections are scheduled to go. The parade starts at 8:30 and the screen projections are at 9:30, right? There is so much delay because of first the power loss and then the fire, that this parade is literally preventing the show from being displayed because you can't have the projection show and while the parade is in the middle there. They use the same speakers. It's the area where people are supposed to be. So yeah, pretty interesting though. You never see these floats so close together, right? There's normally spread out quite a bit, right? Goofy's gonna come in here. There's Donald, there's Minnie, and there's Mickey right there, right at the end there. Now, there's gonna be a very interesting moment here that we're gonna see, because I thought they were just gonna move all of these floats and they're going to leave the Little Mermaid float in that area just so they could check it and make sure that it's safe. But no, right now, see how those cast members with the spinning things are not moving? Mickey's going to come in here. Mickey is normally the last float. Mickey's the end of the parade. Mickey's the one that closes everything. But he's not going to be the end of the parade this time. No, this time, Mickey is the second to last float because they are now going to tow. They're now going to tow the Little Mermaid float behind Mickey, right? And they have a lot of cast members. Here, let me stop my camera. They have a lot of cast members that are walking alongside it. That are constantly checking the float to make sure it's not catching on fire. But that is That's what's going on. This is the final float of the parade, and I think they put it at the end in case like something happens. The other floats are already gone, right? Other floats are already gone. So that's why this is bringing up the rear. I can't tell where the fire might be. People might say like, oh, there's a little bit of a black section at the end there. I think that's normally black when it's unlit. It's hard to tell because there's no power. There's no power. So that's the trick there. Now what we're going to do here, what we're going to see is that we are going to follow behind these cast members. You're allowed to do this, right? Once the parade has gone through, there's these cast members that usually prevent you from getting too close. So we're going to follow these cast members, and here's what I could tell is kind of sort of proof that there was a fire is I could smell it. I could smell either burnt circuitry or burnt plastic, some sort of chemical burnt scent that is that you normally don't smell. It's not the smell of burning wood, right? It's not the smell of cooked food. It's something that definitely you're worried like, is this going to give me cancer kind of smell, right? Burning plastic smell. It wasn't constant, right? It wasn't as if something was actively on fire, but there definitely was this sort of residue smell that I was able to detect. And I was wearing a mask. Because I don't want to breathe that fumes in, and I could still smell it. So this is the result there. Yeah, see how I don't think that part at the back there with where it looks the black things are sticking out. I don't think that's the fire. I think it was something that may have been maybe underneath the cart. Maybe it's something dealing with the motor moving or the battery that powers the float, because remember it lost power, so maybe there's some sort of battery issue. The other interesting thing is, notice where the float's turning left, right here. The float is turning left, and that's unusual, right? Normally when the floats come down Main Street over here, they make a big loop around the flagpole. And they end here, but you don't have to do it that way, right? This section is big enough, so they're moving those floats out quickly, and they're moving those floats right down here and then clearing it to the parade route, right? They're skipping this entire section. I think that's just to make sure that they get the floats out, but also to clear the area. So they're going to move the float there, and then they want to say like, hey, no one follows, right? Make everyone go to the right. Everyone go to the right. And that's what happens. What we do here. And then they get the float back in to right back there, right back in. So that's crazy. That's the crazy thing of the floats are just kind of it broke down, it caught on fire, and like we said, right, it wouldn't be emitting smoke unless there was some sort of chemical reaction going, and the most common chemical reaction that causes a lot of smoke in this situation would be a fire, right? That's the fire extinguishers, right? But I definitely smelled some burnt remnants, right? But it's very crazy. It's very crazy what kind of happened there. But it's very good that Disney is very concerned about safety. Like I said, I believe that they escorted Ariel off when the power went out, and then it caught fire afterwards. So Ariel was not in danger when it caught fire. Ariel was already off the float when it caught fire. So they didn't have to worry about that, and they moved as many people away from the danger area once when it did actually catch fire. So like Disney is concerned about safety. It's concerned about safety. But they they had to try to figure out how to do the rest of the parade. Screams projections did actually happen tonight, right? But it was 20 minutes late. It's supposed to happen at 9:30. It happened at 9:50. They had screen projections at 9:50, and that section where the parade broke down at the hub, this section right over here, they did have cast members standing here and didn't let anyone in because I think they were trying to clean the area up and maybe also inspect the ground to make sure like there was nothing remaining that could cause harm to anyone. Right. But they did have the 10:50 projection show. The more interesting thing is they also did the second parade, right? This is just the first parade of the night. There's a second parade that goes from Main Street towards Small World. So it reverses direction, right? Because all the parade floats are right here, and then they just kind of bring them all back up and move them up right towards Small World. They had that show. It was very delayed. That parade is supposed to start at 10:30 at night. And I believe that it started, if I could be wrong, but I was kind of tracking a little bit of Theme Park Steve. Theme Park Steve is another streamer. I think he was trying to watch the parade right at the entrance at Main Street, and a few other of our viewers were watching. And I believe that pretty close to park close time at 11 o'clock, the park is closing at 11 o'clock these days, is when the parades launched. 30 minutes late. And they were missing a few floats, right? And obviously they're missing the Little Mermaid float. You're not going to have the Little Mermaid float come out if it is broken. But I also heard that the Monsters Inc. float wasn't there as well. I don't know exactly. I haven't had a chance to look through the footage of that second parade route, but I can imagine that things were a little jumbled. Here's the reason why I think that it took 30 minutes to get the parade started again. And the big reason is because of the way that they brought all these floats in, right? You know, like sort of very quickly. You know, the first half right through this way, and then they brought in the second ones. I have a feel, and then the Little Mermaid Float. I have a feeling that the problem was how did they move out the Little Mermaid Float in a way around all of these other floats to get it out of the way and to get it into a location that wouldn't be a danger to anyone or anything around it. And I think that was kind of the big issue, is that they were sort of trying to shift things around in a very small space. And as a result, you know, some floats, you know, ended up being in out of position and may not have been able to be may not have been able to have the chance to get back into the parade, and so they didn't put it in the parade. They said like, we'll do the parade, but we're not going to have this float in particular, right? Because of the positioning, the logistics. Why have the second parade at all? You know, why didn't they cancel it? If you were one of the guests who was at the end of the parade route for the first parade, aka around Main Street, you know, maybe by the train station, you did not see this parade, right? You saw the first portion of it, maybe the first third, and that was it, right? So you might be a little disappointed. You might be saying like, hey, I this is my only time of coming to Disneyland. I wanted to see the Paint the Night parade. I'm only here for one night, and I didn't get a chance to see the parade, right? And so I think Disney knows this. Disney is in the entertainment business. And so they're going to want to make sure that you have a good experience. So if you miss out the first parade, they say, okay, well, there's a second parade, right? Well, you know, they're gonna do their best to do the second parade without the Little Mermaid Float, which they could do, right? But they'll want you to have that experience in memory, saying like, oh, okay, at least I saw the parade to the end, or at least most of the parade to the end. And that's what Disney's trying to do. They want to keep that magic going, right? They don't want people to leave disappointed, even though the easy thing would have been to say, you know what, we've had a bad parade day, right? Our float caught fire. Like, you know, let's cancel the parade. I think Disney did what they could to go the extra mile for the guests and say, hey, if you missed the first parade, we have a second one for you. You can watch it. You could have your Paint the Night memories for the celebration of the 70th anniversary of Disneyland, and this is the best that we can do, you know, given the circumstances. Which is true, right? Because you know they have a plan for fire, but nobody wants there to be a fire. Nobody wants to be a fire. So, but quite crazy on the situation that happened today, and that things got really strained. Yeah, there was definitely a lot more cast members in position for this parade once things went wrong than you would normally see. Normally, you don't see this many cast members. I don't even think you see as many security as you do normally here. But obviously, crowd control is a very big part of dealing with this situation, and they don't want anything to happen to anyone, and or and that would cause injury or interference. So, man, I think we're 35 minutes. We're 35 minutes into this video, so if you're still here, you can type parade in the comments. Type parade in the comments if you're still here. You guys are the dedicated ones. You guys are the ones that are here to be with the parade and say like, hey, this is crazy what's happening on here. Yeah, the second parade was missing a lot. And definitely the Little Mermaid float. I don't think that this float is coming back anytime soon. Obviously, that Disney is going to need to do a lot of inspections to see what went wrong, right? Because something shouldn't go wrong. And normally, as an engineer, they want these floats. They want these floats, if they do fail, to fail safely, right? That's the net definition of a fail safe, right? They don't want them to fail catastrophically, like as in Catch on Fire. The fact that it lost power initially probably is a fail safe, right? Say so, there's something in the circuitry that said, hey, something went wrong here. Something is not working so well. Let's shut down the entire power of this float so that it could be diagnosed and then it could be solved easier, right? Because if it loses power and it doesn't catch fire, yeah, engineers can take a look at it. Electrical engineers can take a look at it and say like, hey, what was the problem? When it catches on fire, that's not a fail safe, right? Fire is not a safe state, generally speaking. So that's a big concern to the engineers, because one of them wants to say like, why did it catch fire? Why didn't our fail safes work? What can we do to prevent this from happening again? And then of course eventually the other question is, can this be repaired? Can the float be repaired? And the answer is, I actually don't think we're going to see this float. I don't think that this Little Mermaid float is coming back, right? This is it, right? That's the last you're going to see of it. And the reason why I think that it's not coming back is because the Paint the Night Parade is going away in about 1 month. In 1 month's time, the Paint the Night Parade is going to be replaced by the Christmas Parade, right? The Disney Holiday Parade, starting in like November 10th, November 11th. And as a result, there's only 1 month left of this parade to have, right? So if they don't replace this, if they fix this float, right? If it takes them 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks to fix this float, it's almost like, is it worth it to fix a float and you spend this time and money on the float when you're only going to use it for the remaining weeks until November, right? If the fix is quick, right? If it only takes them like maybe like a 3 or 4 days or a week to fix it, I think they'll do it. I think they'll do it, right? But if they're looking at the numbers and say it's like 2 weeks, and saying like, you know what? No more Little Mermaid float. No more Little Mermaid float for the Paint the Night Parade, right? I could definitely see that being a possibility, because this is not good. Fire is not good. And obviously they might even have to do engineering changes, because there's a reason why it caught fire, right? And that means that there's something didn't go according to plan. So as an engineer, you might want to change the design. And if you have to change a design, you might not have the time to do it if things are going to expire in a month. So that's extremely crazy. But that's the situation. That's a situation that we saw tonight in the park of a float that not only just broke down, but caught fire, and it's crazy. It's crazy. There's definitely a lot of people like checking things out there, right? Making sure that things are working. There's a lot of lights that they're shining out on the underneath there. I definitely think the fire was on that section because notice where that's where all the cast members are. All the cast members are looking at that back area. So I think that's where the fire took place, in the back, because that's where the cast members are looking. Yeah. I think that's I could be wrong. Remember, a lot of this is going to be speculation because I don't have the same knowledge of what happened according to the like the cast members do. I just have what I'm observing right now from footage that I've recorded, and then footage that has been recorded from other people, from people who just been watching the parade, from fellow streamers. So this is all speculation, but I'm pretty sure that the fire happened at the back where all the cast members are, and then this is kind of the result. It's very wow. Normally you don't see this, right? Disney is very good at making sure everything is pretty close to perfect. So when things like this happen, when things aren't quite exactly perfect, it stands out, right? It's a surprise. But I'm pretty sure everyone was safe, right? Cast members are safe, guests were safe. This was a surprising incident, but it was not one which caught. Oh, I guess just kind of walked right through the right through all those cast members, kind of moving through. I just noticed that while watching that footage again. His guest didn't know that they're coming through and walked right between them. So that's interesting. That's interesting. Oh man. But it's good to know that Disney is prepared and ready for these things, right? Because Disney dealt with that fire very quickly. Disney knew that Disney has that equipment ready, and things did not escalate. So good on Disney. Very, very capable, and also good job on all these cast members for maintaining their professionalism, for sticking to the plan, and for taking care of things and taking care of the guests. Because obviously, if things could have resulted, it'd be worse if people started panicking, right? What's that phrase? One person is smart, but a group of people, is not. With a lot of people, crowd control is very important. But honestly, I'm very impressed with Disney. I think Disney's very professional. Disney's very prepared. They know what they're doing, and it worked out. It worked out today. Yeah. I don't think you'll ever see something like this again. I think you'll see parade stops before. We've seen a parade stop before, right? Where something didn't work and they had to tow. But I don't think you'll see a parade fire. That's very unusual. I don't think see parades going down this part of the circle. That's extremely unusual. You'll never see that. That is bizarre. I bet for these cast members, it's a unique experience too. They're saying like, this is the only time I've ever seen us go down this route, right? You almost sort of like, don't have the experience of it, like the practice of like saying like everyone go down left this way. It's not designed. The parade route is not designed to go around this section of that circle. It's supposed to go the other way. Wow. It is unique. Oh, excuse me. Was there anything else that I wanted to talk with you about regarding this incident? If you have any questions, of course, you feel free to leave a comment, and I will try and get back to you on that. I don't think that I think that's as much as we know about anything that happened. So there's really nothing else. There's nothing else to share. If there is more videos of if there was more videos of the fire or of the parade of that incident, I was not able to find it on a quick Google search. But I think it's pretty clear what happened. Yeah. Wow. They were definitely very careful to make sure that it didn't catch fire again when they started towing it. But it's a crazy ending to a parade. Good on Disney. Good on Disney to keep things professional. Okay, guys, that's it. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you taking a look at this and our coverage of it. And boy, oh boy, man, when that thing starts when that smoke starts spilling out, that looks kind of scary. It's kind of scary. But yeah, you can definitely see the cast members saying, move out of the way, move away from this area." Take care, guys. Have a good night, and I'll see you later.